Hey, welcome to Where Music Meets the Soul. I have the honor today of speaking to Jesse James Dupree from Jackyl. And Jackyl is going to be coming and playing the Canyon Club. They play the Canyon Club every year. We are so excited to come back. And you are the everyday, like I love when I do research on you that you like the military, you the like police officers. You're actually like a good guy. I really do appreciate that.
Well, thank you for that. I'm reaching out to you from the back of a Harley Davidson semi tractor trailer rig in the heart of Daytona Bike Week. If I step outside this trailer, you would not be able to hear me because there's just thousands of Harley Davidsons everywhere. But I appreciate your patience with me while I'm setting up camp in this. It's actually a really nice trailer though, so it could use some air conditioning
Yeah, I
back
was
here. But
gonna
it's not.
say you're talking about like the trailer that looks nicer than where I grew up.
Yeah, it's not a bad setup. They got it going on, but yeah, I do a lot of stuff for the Harley Davidson Motor Company, and obviously, as you mentioned, a lot of that is tied in with our first responders and our veterans. And we just launched this last Friday. We just launched the Let's Ride Challenge, Ride for Heroes, and we did it last year. And I mean, it was a really big deal. We challenged all of the Harley Davidson riders to cumulatively ride 50 million miles, and we actually rode 85 million miles last year. But when we hit 50 million, there was $1 million donation that was made to veterans organizations like the VFW, Wounded Warrior, American Legion, all those, the combat vets. And we just started it up again. And our goal this year, Lance, is to hit 1 million I'm sorry, 100 million collective miles, 100 million miles. So please, if you ride, it doesn't matter what you ride. It could be any other brand of a motorcycle. Go to your local dealership. Every dealership is participating,
You know,
and
I,
you
I
can.
follow you on TikTok and I watch some of the times when you're on your rides, and I find it amazing because on your rides, going from food place to food place is one of those things that you love to do, right?
I mean, the joke is that I used to ride about 20,000 miles a year, and then when I started working with Harley, doing the events and all the campaigns and the bike giveaways and stuff. Once I started working with Harley, I didn't have time to ride as much. But now we get a lot of riding in. I had one of my favorite rides ever last year. Robert Patrick, Robert was the
Yes.
Terminator, and he was in the Schwarzenegger movie with Terminator. He was also in Stallone's Tulsa King recently. He was the
Right.
bad guy in Tulsa King, but he owns Santa Clarita Harley Davidson, which is right there by
Wow.
by the Canyon Club.
I did
And
not
but
know that. I watch
yeah,
him. I follow him because he was also on another show, like a series.
so he was
He's
on 1923 or whatever that
yeah.
show was with Harrison Ford, and he's with the Punisher. He's been on tons of movies, but he was in The Sopranos. But he and I rode to Washington D.C. last year to the Vietnam Wall, and we did the candlelight vigil for the Gold Star families, and it was just a very moving, event, and to ride, with a brother like that for 600 miles from Atlanta up to there and stuff. But anyway, I think Robert's going to be coming to the Canyon Club when we play.
Well, that'd be great. And the
Yeah,
amazing thing is I think about like when I first got I had a Harley 883 uh
yeah.
and I got on that, and my wife, the first time she saw me in the skull cap and the whole thing, she was like, "Oh, I'm not sure I want to date this guy."
Yeah, yeah.
I fit
It
in
looks like it
too
looks like
good.
you made it through. Looks
Yeah,
like you made it through okay.
I fit in too good. So, what a lot of people know you about is your chainsaw antics. So, I know that there's a story behind the chainsaw. Did the chainsaw come from your dad or something?
Yeah, well, one night before we ever had our first record deal, we were playing at a bar in Atlanta, and we held the sales and attendance record for that bar. And the guy that owned it was a guy named Butch Weaver, and he was an excitable fella. He was actually a Vietnam veteran, but he was excitable and he did a lot of cocaine. And but I used to threaten him that I was going to bring a chainsaw in and cut the place up. And so one night when I knew we were going to have it packed out, I went by this tool rental place and I rented this big gnarly chainsaw. And Lance, I went to Walmart and I got me some mailbox letters and I spelt the name of the band on the chainsaw bar. And I went into the bar and we were jamming and I was cutting stuff up and he was losing his mind. And he told us we were going to be fined $200 for this and we were going to be fined $300 for that. And because
Good
I was
luck
cutting up
collecting.
yeah, I was cutting up tables and chairs and stuff. And but at the end of the night, we had got some friends of ours to get up and jam, and they were showing off with all the pretty girls that were in Atlanta there, and they were each taking their lead breaks and doing their thing. And so in the middle of those guitar players taking their lead breaks, I grabbed that chainsaw and I did a lead break, and everybody thought it was great. And I carried it back to the tool rental place the next day and forgot about it. Well, my dad happened to be in the audience that night, and my dad said, "You've got to keep doing that." And I
For
said,
your
"What?" He goes,
dad,
"That change."
for your dad to be the person that said, that's really cool. You
Yeah,
got to
he
keep
said, "You
doing
got."
that.
And so about a week later, my dad shows up at a show in South Carolina, and he was in his car. And my dad never drove a car. My dad was on a Harley Davidson my whole life, and he shows up in a car, and I'm going, "Why is he in a car?" And he opened up the trunk, and he had went and bought me a chainsaw. And he goes, "You've got to keep doing that." And so I thought, okay, whatever. So we were pulling it out and I was getting fines everywhere. Every place we would play, I was cutting stuff up and causing problems. And and the guy that signed us to our record deal, the legendary John David Kolodner,
Yeah.
who was responsible for everybody from Aerosmith coming back from the dead and all of Cher's post Sonny Bono hits, and he was working with John Lennon the night he got shot. He was a legendary guy. And he signed Foreigner. He brought AC/DC to Atlantic's attention. I'm just a great guy. But he saw us playing. He goes, "You got to keep doing the chainsaw thing." And so that's when I wrote the Lumberjack song. And I was thinking, this is crazy. But the damn thing, it sold a couple of million records. Well, it came
Right.
out. It did really good. It took us to gold. And then When Will It Rain and Down on Me, and all those songs, Push
Right.
Comes to Shove. I mean, all those songs, took us. We've sold a couple of million records after that. But yeah, it was the one thing that kind of kicked it all off.
Yeah. It's funny because I'd see that. And then I also noticed that your life crossed my life because you played in the 94 Woodstock. You
Yeah,
played.
we did. People ask me all the time as far as the chainsaw goes. Do you still do the chainsaw thing? And and I know you can say gimmick or whatever, and I say that laughing too because we don't we don't we just celebrate the fundamentals of rock
Right.
and roll. It's two guitar, bass, and drums, chainsaw, if you will, whatever it takes to get the job done. And you know, I find that the people that understand when I say we celebrate the fundamentals of rock and roll, they know what I'm talking about. And
Right.
the people that understand they'll be out at the Canyon Club and they will be throwing down and we'll be having a great time together. They're not coming to see a show, they're coming to be part of the show. And actually, it's going to be formally known as the Canyon Club. When we get through with it, it'll be Jackyl's Bar and Grill, okay? And
That
I make
works
no
for me.
mistake about it. So it'll be, we'll change the sign. But and I plan on leaving the damnedest stain ever right there on the stage. But people that understand it, they come out and they celebrate the fundamentals of rock and roll with us, whether it be two guitar, bass and drums, chainsaw, whatever. The
Right.
people that don't understand what I mean when I say that, those are the same people that have a hard time admitting that they masturbate. Okay, so they'll be sitting at home, and whether you like rock or country or whatever, I don't think you can come to a Jackyl show and not have a good time. We have a lot of fun, and that's what it's about. And while it's like, does Angus Young still do his short pants schoolboy outfit gimmick? Does Kiss still do their makeup gimmick? Does
Right.
Iron Maiden still have Eddie come out on stage, their gimmick? Does Alice Cooper still chop his head off with his gimmick? That's things that are rock and roll.
Right.
And that chainsaw is as rock and roll as any of it. It's the most, matter of fact, Lance, it's the most definitive instrument for rock and roll. It's loud, it's aggressive, it's
Kind of
stanky,
looks like a
it's
guitar.
it's everything that rock and roll should be. And I invite you to come out and step on top of it right whenever we're playing at the Canyon Club. But seriously, we've been so blessed,
Yeah.
and we have fun. Every single show is
Well,
a
I
Madison.
find it amusing because I spent my entire life growing up in Woodstock and trying to get out of Woodstock.
Yeah,
and
well,
not realizing.
and I did the same thing with Kennesaw, Georgia, but I could never leave there. I'm still living there.
Oh,
It's a I live in a town where it's a mandatory law that every household must own a gun, and it's home.
yeah,
But yeah, but Woodstock '94 was a big deal for us. Obviously, we were just coming out. We were out on tour with Aerosmith,
mm.
and do you want to know how that came about?
I would
We
love to
were
know.
I was at I think it might have been a Grammy. I was invited to the Grammys, and I was in New York, and I had a dinner invitation from all these music executives at the Ritz Carlton restaurant. At the really nice restaurant in the Ritz
Right.
Carlton, whatever the name of it was. And it was just I mean, and these were suits. And I'm still the guy from Kennesaw, Georgia, right? And so I went to this party or this dinner, and I turned it into a party. And we were telling stories, and I got to tell you something. Rock and roll musicians get a damn rap for being debaucherous and all the great. You want to see the seedy side of the music business? Huddle up with them damn music executives.
Yeah.
Those were some sick sons of bitches.
Yeah.
those,
You know what?
those,
There's a
those,
reason.
yeah,
They're
those were the
failed
guys that would,
musicians.
yeah, those guys had stories that made me go take a bath. I mean, it's like go wash it off. But by the end of that dinner, I stood up and pulled my pants down, and I pulled my ball sack up over my penis, and I said, "You ever seen a Cornish game hen?" And I mean, it was one of those crazy dinners. But they thought that that was so funny, and just so happened that one of the guys that was at that table was one of the producers for Woodstock, and they put us on a Friday night right at dusk.
Right.
We probably had the best slot at Woodstock, and it was that stage turned around.
All
There's a
because of the
half.
Rock Cornish game hen.
Yeah, all because of the Cornish game hen. And you can laugh if you want to, but it was like that's how deals are done. And you stand up and say, "Scratch my lucky balls." I mean, it's I mean, yeah. There is no shame. But we ended up having a great slot at Woodstock,
So
and
you've had 10, is it 10? No, it's 9 albums out, 92 all the way to 2022. How many songs have you guys written?
oh my God, I've never counted, but
Yeah, it's funny because you said you're the DIY band. I thought, oh, to be able to create that much music, it is crazy
yeah,
because that's over time. That's not 92 to 22. That's 30 years.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just got through. I mean, I literally just last night finished mixing a solo record, and it's a record that I'm playing with my son, and which is really cool. And how many musicians say they get to play with their son? I mean, yet, Eddie Van Halen played with Wolfgang, and
Yes.
Pete Townsend's got his son in the Who.
Wolfgang just did his video at the Canyon Club.
You know what? That somebody now that I'd forgot about that, but somebody told me that they did that over there. That's killer. And I know we just had Gene Simmons play the Love Ride because I sit on the board of directors for the Love Ride, which is Glendale Harley Davidson and Santa Clarita Harley Davidson over in that area. And we just did the Love Ride, and I went down and asked Gene Simmons to play it, and since it was a benefit to benefit the Wounded Warrior Project, and Gene is a really huge supporter of veterans. So Gene came and played the Love Ride. It was really great. We all got up and jammed. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. Those love rides are so. I thought they stopped and then they just picked back up again.
Yeah, this year, 2025 was the first year back since COVID.
I want to be the Canyon Club, and all my locations would love to be a place of gathering for the ride. That would be a great thing.
Well,
And I
let me
take
ask,
it you raise tons of money, but
how far is the Canyon Club from Santa Clarita Harley Davidson?
36 miles.
Okay, and you got a big parking lot.
I got a huge parking lot. Let's
But
negotiate this deal now. No pulling out the ball sack.
yeah, so okay. Well, we may have to. You might be the one pulling the ball sack. Who knows?
Well,
Whatever it
we
takes.
also have Oxnard Performing Arts Center, which is another 35 miles from Santa Clarita. We could do
Well, you know what?
multiple
When I
locations.
get there, let's explore the possibilities.
That sounds great. It was absolutely. So, which of the songs that you've done is your favorite? Because I know what people always assume that, but do you have a favorite?
I Stand Alone.
I Stand Alone. And what feeling does that give you when you sing that?
Well, that song was written, with all the young desperation angst that I had. I mean, it was one of those perfect storms, and I had a brand new son. I was broke as dirt. I was wanting to be a successful musician, but it was a million miles away from me to be to how was I going to get there? And it was my first Christmas with my newborn kid, and we'd put up a Christmas tree, a little Christmas tree, and had a couple of presents under it. And the apartment we lived in, the damn roof leaked and caved in on top of the tree and the presents. And I mean, it was one of those things where it was just that song was written out of defiance and just nothing but it. So that song for me would be the one song I would take to the desert island.
And the amazing thing is really about not giving up and fighting through and being, because I see that sometimes people think you're lucky. I don't know if anybody could see how tenacious people are that are successful, they would realize that maybe it's not luck, maybe it's the opportunity that you're always
Yeah,
available.
an overnight success 10 years later.
Yes, I hear that all the time. My wife manages young people like she managed Jojo Siwa, and everybody goes,
Okay.
"She just dropped out of the sky," and you're like, "No, we knew her years before anybody knew who she was." And
Wow. I get it. I get it. That seems to be the case. I mean, it's, you make your own luck and all that kind of stuff you hear. I mean, I never had I never had the what you said, the critical acclaim, to, or we never were like the critics' choice. We were just, we
and
just,
and that's true because I think about like all these other people got so much more play than you did in the media, and yet your concerts are the best concerts you possibly could go to.
yeah. I mean, we got plenty of media, but I mean, we were doing like we did 100 shows in 50 days, set a Guinness Book World Record, and that was, I mean, like, I went into a steakhouse with a chainsaw and disrupted a whole radio conference dinner, and that cost me $1 million lawsuit.
What was
Uh,
tell me about the lawsuit with Kmart? I heard about
that
that.
we yeah we I went to jail for pulling a tractor trailer rig up in front of Kmart because they sold me. So the media couldn't ignore us. I mean, I went to jail many times for indecent exposure, you know, because I was, raising hell about the parental advisory stickers they were putting on our records. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I pulled the tractor trailer rig up on top of a Father's Day sidewalk sale at Kmart because they wouldn't carry my record. And they ultimately started carrying the record, but we raised hell to get it. But yeah, I mean, we made plenty of press, but I mean, it was because we were not laying down and going quietly into the night. And we came out in the middle of Nirvana, which they were label mates. I mean, Kurt Cobain and those guys, they came to a Jackyl show in Seattle, and they
Yeah,
got
because
kicked out.
90, that was huge grunge time, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they got kicked. They started slam dancing during "I Stand Alone," actually, and they got kicked out. And my road manager had to go let them back in the side door. And they were drinking draft beer out of gallon milk jugs. And so yeah, I mean, but we were label mates. So I love Nirvana and Soundgarden and Stone Temple. God, Stone Temple was a phenomenal band.
Yeah.
And but we came out in the middle of the grunge in the Seattle, and the record company thought there ain't no way in hell you're going to cut through this. But I mean, we literally cut through, and we hung some platinum records on the wall. We just didn't chase trends, and we definitely were not necessarily a product of the '80s. We were more a '70s throwdown of like a ACDC from the South, and of course Brian Johnson from ACDC blessed us with, he and I wrote songs and sang together on some, the first time anybody in ACDC ever worked outside their band was Brian singing with Jackyl. So, I mean, we have had one hell of a run, and I'm not finished yet. I mean, we still got the Canyon Club to remodel.
Yeah,
So
60s,
it's
60s the
not
new
done yet.
40.
Yeah, it's not done yet. That's right.
So we talked earlier before we went on air, and you're also a co-owner of Full Throttle Saloon, which I happen to be a freaky fan of when it was on the air. And I loved it because no one could ever, because I always tried to tell people, if you ever knew what it was like running a canyon club, it's like a lunacy. It's crazy every single day. And every single day, somehow we pull off a concert. And every single day, thousands of people are happy. And it's
Yeah, I
amazing
mean,
to me to see you did a show on it.
folks just don't know what it's like behind the scenes of, and especially you're dealing with all these asshole bands that come in and they got their requirements and their needs and wants, and you got to pick all the brown M&Ms out of the bowl of M&Ms, and because no brown. all
What,
that.
I want to know what's on your rider. Do you have any strange stuff on your rider? Like, do
Well,
you need
for
two
people that don't
cycle?
know what, yeah, for people that don't know what we're talking about, I think it was Van Halen that made it a famous thing that on their contract rider, that all the stuff that you got to have back in the dressing room
Green
and the bus.
M&Ms.
Yeah, and they said, yeah, no green M&Ms, or only green, something like that.
Yeah.
And the promoters would like raise hell, like having to pick all the brown M&Ms out of
My
the
favorite
M&M.
one was people would ask for underwear, and then it only took me like years later that I found out because they didn't want to do laundry. They would buy underwear and throw them away. So I couldn't
Yeah,
figure out why people kept asking for underwear. At least
yeah,
now they don't.
yeah. A lot of that was, that originated with asking for crazy stuff because you wanted to make sure that the promoter actually read your rider. Because otherwise, if they didn't raise hell about something, then you know they didn't read it.
Yeah, you
And
know that.
so there was always some silly stuff that people would put on their riders so that you could make sure the promoter knew. So when things popped for us, we had one shaved gerbil, and we asked for one shaved gerbil, and I never got a shaved gerbil, but there was one night that I went into the dressing room and there was a little box moving around, and there was actually a live gerbil in a pet box with a razor taped to the top of it, and the promoter had a note saying, "Shave it
DYI.
yourself. Shave it yourself."
Well, you remember you're the DYI band.
That's right. Well, that's what happens.
And did the Full Throttle Saloon burn down? Because I know you moved from the 300 acre to the 600 acre location.
Yeah, we were on 32 acres. Um,
Oh,
we were on 30. Yeah, we were on 32 acres in the original place where the TV show was shot. And when it burnt down, there was $10 million worth of ashes and a lot of hurt feelings because we didn't have any insurance because there was no running water. There was no running water and no fire department around there, so no insurance would touch us. But nobody got hurt or killed. We moved down the road. To Mike Ballard's credit, I mean, my partner, he watched a lot of. He had about $1 million worth of motorcycles that burn up in that thing, vintage motorcycles. And but we moved down the road. We bought 600 acres, and we now have the Full Throttle Saloon in Pappy Hoyle Campground. We have an Olympic-sized swimming pool. We have a all-you-can-eat breakfast and dinner buffet. We have the largest stage in South Dakota. This year we have Sammy Hagar, Rob Zombie, Journey, Jamie Johnson, Blackberry Smoke, Jackyl. We got DMC from Run DMC is going to
you
be
know,
sitting in with us.
yeah, that's amazing. So this is all, and like I just know Sturgis because it's always during the ride Sturgis, but it's operation 365 days a year, right?
Nah, I mean, right now there's 6 foot of snow and a buffalo grazing in the courtyard. The front part of the bar stays open, if people can get to it because of the weather. But yeah, but it really, when things thaw, last year when we started working on the property to get it ready, we had to take a bobcat and shovel the snow out from in front of the doors so we could get in.
I live in Park City, so I know exactly when I say I have a snowblower and I tell them it's an 80-inch snowblower, they don't quite conceive it's attached to a huge
Right.
tractor.
Yeah.
And so you've played, you've opened up for amazing, but you've also played with everybody. Like, what was your favorite? Like when you guys open up, is it just a big old party the whole time?
Yeah, we were out on the tour with ZZ for, hell, Aerosmith for a couple of years, ZZ Top for about a year. Ted Nugent was really great to us in the beginning, and Ted's still somebody that's dear to me. I mean, I love that guy,
He's
and Ted Nugent is Ted Nugent all 24/7, and And but he was really good to us in the beginning. The
The
damn
the
Yankees.
first time I saw him, he was at the Tabernacle in Atlanta, and
Yeah,
he literally in a balcony shot an arrow across the entire Tabernacle, which was huge, and he shot a picture of Osama bin Laden, which scared the crap out of me. And like I
yeah,
didn't know, and that's when you know that you should have read the writer.
yeah. He and I went to jail in Cincinnati because I mooned the crowd at the Cincinnati Gardens, and they put me in jail after the show. And I was sitting in jail, and I heard Ted coming down the hallway, and I thought, "Damn, Ted's coming to get me out of jail."
No,
And I
he
thought
was
he
going
sure
in.
is a good old. And so I'm sitting in jail, and I hear Ted, and he comes down the hallway, and they open up the door, and they put him in. So he and I were sitting in jail in Cincinnati together, and because he had gotten arrested for shooting a flaming arrow, he'd set it on fire and shot it across the room.
Well, that's what I left that part out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to wrap here for a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Jesse James Dupree from Jackyl. Here we go, and we're back. We're here with Jesse James Dupree and with Jackyl coming here to the Canyon Club here, and we originally formed the band in 1991. I was not with you at the time, but you formed the band. Your hair metal. You were basically in the middle of the grunge rock thing, and
Yes.
you were lead guitar and vocals, and you wrote the songs for Jackyl, correct?
I wrote a great deal of them. Yeah. And, I mean, we still kicking. I mean, the band still, we'll do about 80 to 100 shows a year.
And tell me about Locked and Loaded. And you had the AC/DC guy there, Brian
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yeah. Brian's wife, Brenda, was spearheading a big benefit for a theater down in, St. Augustine, Florida. I'm sorry. God, where is this? Sarasota, Florida. And I got an invitation to come down and sing in this benefit. And there was just, I mean, it was a who's who. I mean, everybody from, of course, Brian Johnson was there, everybody from Brian to Duck Dunn from Booker T and the MGs, the
Oh,
Blues
Duck.
Brothers, I
Yeah,
mean,
he
I
used to
just,
be with me.
yeah, so many legends. And I went down and we sang, and Brian and I were hanging out, and then he goes like, "You need to come down here, me son, and we'll write some songs." And I was going, "Oh yeah, great." He goes, "You can stay at the house," and I thought, "Okay, this is really cool." And he gave me his number, and I thought, but when I got home, I mean, what am I going to do? Call him and say, "Hey, you invited me to come down,"
Right,
And so
I'm
I kind
coming.
of, yes, I let it go, but at Christmas time, I got a postcard or a letter from him saying, "Hey, here's my number. I never heard from you. I want to make sure you got it. You should come down." And so I ended up calling him, and I said, "Tell me what works, and let's do it." And so we went down and we wrote. We went in, and I went down to his house, and he goes, "I'm going to take a shower." And he goes, "When I get back, we'll go in the pub. He has an English pub in his house." So he went, took a shower, and I was sitting in the kitchen just looking at an amazing house he's got, and all the memorabilia and stuff. And he came in, and we went upstairs, and he opened up this one of the doors, one of the rooms upstairs, and he probably had 100 guitars in there. And I said, "Do you play?" And he said, "No, I just think they look cool." And
That's what people say to
yeah,
me because I get people
yeah.
to sign guitars.
Yeah, so I picked a guitar out, and we went down in his pub, and we wrote part of a song, and then Robin Zander from Cheap Trick showed
Oh my
up,
God.
and so we were hanging out, and we ended up partying, and we didn't finish the song, and I went back home, and it was driving me crazy, and so I kind of had it figured out how I was going to put it all together. And I called him and I told him, I said, "Hey, we're going to record that song tomorrow. I just wanted to let you know." And he goes, "I'll be up there tomorrow." So he flew into Atlanta, and then he ended up singing on the record. And it was, I mean, it was really, I never expected that, but it
It
was
it is amazing
such an
how
honor. It was an honor.
you're in an industry and some people are prima donnas and some people are just regular guys that are famous. And it's
Yeah,
amazing.
you generally find the bigger they are, the less prima donnas they are. I mean, it's it's the guys that want to be big that had mediocre success that spend the full time being rock stars. Just like if I was that, if it would be, I can tell you this, to try to be whatever that lead singer is, to try to be that all day long. I mean, that's a workout. I mean,
Yeah.
and plus, my mama would whoop me otherwise. She would. I mean, if I was to damn act like that on stage and off, she would have flogged me. But but you meet some of the guys that carry that around, and you feel sorry for them, to be honest with you. But then people like Brian Johnson, he's just a regular guy. He's really cool.
Yeah, and then you think about like what strikes me is you had a song with Run DMC, just like a Negro. Is that
Yeah.
is that? And it's funny because you think about that stuff today, and I wonder if you would ever even have thought to do it. I sadly, I think you probably, is because at the time, no big deal.
Well, that song was written. The music part of it and the title was written by a funk rock band called Mother's Finest. And I did an album with a couple of those guys. I was the only white guy in the band, and I said I want to do just like a Negro. And so they said, well, if you're going to do it, you need to rewrite the lyrics for a white guy to sing it.
Right.
And so I rewrote this. So if you listen to the lyrics, when it's saying, sometimes I find myself acting just like a Negro, what it's saying is that I'm mimicking the greats like Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
and Robert Johnson, and
I tell
you know,
people all the time when I was growing up, like there was American Bandstand and Soul Train. Everybody wanted to be on Soul Train. No one
yeah,
wanted to be on American Bandstand. The Soul Train guys were cool. They were hip. They were good looking. And then you went over to American Bandstand and you got like the School of Rock. You know,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that it's one of those things that for me, matter of fact, I grew up. You talk about. I mean, that's where I learned how to sing, was listening. Even going back before that, my favorite singer, and I to be honest, I wasn't really ever wanting to be a singer. I just wanted to be a guitar player. But there was a guy named Joe Tex, and Joe Tex was a black singer that had some hits, and one of them was called "I Gotcha." And I got you. Thought you got away now, didn't you? Well, now give it here. Come on. Promise me the day that you quit your boyfriend. But he had a great scream, and that's where I learned how to sing, was from Joe Tex.
wow. Now, when you come up with like, because I read all these Guinness Book World of Records, you played 100 concerts in 50 days. You performed 21 concerts in a 24-hour period. Were you doing this for like, how do you perform 21 concerts in 24 hours?
Well, with that, we did 100 shows in 50 days, and then we did 21 shows in 24 hours, which we did that inside a radio station in Texas. We set up in an auditorium, and the Guinness Book people told us that we had to change the audience out, every 40 minutes.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so every show had to be at least 40 minutes long.
Well, it's funny because I know a lot about your fans. So I always made the statement to my talent buyers that I could book you every week and it would be the same group of people that would show up every week and they would come every week and they wouldn't get sick of it wanting to listen to the exact same thing.
Yeah, they changed the audience out, and there were people that came back multiple times, and you kind of felt like you were living in a fishbowl for those 24 hours, but we did it. I will tell you that I sang my ass off for the first 17 of those shows, and then I started really wearing out. But we got through it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when I built the House of Blues at the Tabernacle in Atlanta, that's what I felt like. It was like the project that I took on was so massive and the chances of failing were so high. And then the bombing happened after we got it up and open. Who knew? We work and I build an 88,000 square foot venue, which Jesse knows like how
Yeah.
scary that is. Like he's talking about no water. Oh my goodness, if you ever knew, like, and we would have 3,500 people in there with the Blues Brothers, and I had a full sound system. And it's funny because my favorite show was we had to put a 36 camera recording system, and we the day after a concert, what we would do is go try to find all the people having sex in the building because we'd have cameras all over and they'd think that no one's watching them. Nowadays, I tell my kids all the time, if you think no one's watching, they are. Everything we
Yeah.
go. I bet you there's cameras inside that trailer that you're sitting in right now. So
You know what? I venture to say that they are as well. I mean, especially knowing Harley Davidson, they're buttoned down. But yeah, so you know Jim Maloney then?
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Wow.
Jim Maloney is my oldest living professional relationship.
Wow.
Jim Maloney booked my first band out of high school,
Really?
and he was my booking agent. He used to keep me running. He was with a company called Showtime, and he booked me all up and down the East Coast. And as I was a young man, and
And I tell people all the time because all the agents I deal with today were assistants. That's when you know you're old.
yeah,
When they
yeah,
started out and as 18 years old as an assistant at CAA, and now
yeah,
they're 40 and they're an agent, and you know they paid their dues, man.
yeah. Yeah, especially coming up through that era. But yeah, but Jim Maloney, what a great guy. And
So you work with Harley Davidson, but I heard you also have a sponsorship with your chainsaw company.
I have a 10-year master services agreement with Harley Davidson. I consult the Harley Davidson Motor Company for marketing, and we have a partnership also called Rolling USA that that is matter of fact, tomorrow for this coming Friday night, I'll give away like my 30th in the last 5 years. It'll be like my 30th Harley Davidson motorcycle. I'll give away to a winner on the stage Friday night.
As long as you tell Harley Davidson, please do not create an electric bike. Or did they
Well,
already?
they did. They spun that off. It's called Livewire, but they're making the best motorcycles they've ever made. I'll be honest with you. It's I mean it's really a great motorcycle.
What is your favorite motorcycle to ride? Because
The
to
road
me,
glide, a road glide.
really, that
Yeah.
thing's big and heavy, isn't it?
You know what? It's you can put 600 miles on it, and it's like you just got up out of the couch. It's such a great bike.
I had a KZ 1000, and back in the day when I was in college, I used to drive from Tucson, Arizona to Scottsdale because that's where the Wildcat House and the Devil House were. And I would lay flat on that thing, and I would just 90 miles an hour the whole way, just laying flat, and a gust of wind would come by and just sweep you across two lanes like it was nothing.
Those things were bullets.
Yeah, they were so dangerous. But we lived through it. And I remember one day I was driving into school and I put my helmet on, went out, somebody ran a stop sign. I T-boned them right into their driver's side door. I flipped because I got enough notice that I got up over the handlebars because that's usually where you break your hips.
Yeah.
And I flipped over and I hit my helmet on the curb and the helmet cracked in half. And I thought
Oh
to myself,
wow.
and you know why I was wearing the helmet? Because it was cold that day. It was like, that's why God has come in at least 100 times in my life and saved me and said, he's too stupid to die. Let him keep going.
Well, thank God you're okay. You know, there, that those things happen, and I've had it happen to me. But I just, I'll tell you something funny. Uh, my daughter got me a bicycle, a mountain bike,
Oh,
because she wanted me to go mountain bike riding with her,
and break
and
your collarbone?
she wanted to watch me ride that bike, and it was Christmas time, and I went out and I rode up around this parking lot, and I hit a sheet of ice, and I flipped and busted my head, and I mean I got a pretty good egg on my head, and I was not wearing a helmet, and it kind of messed my neck up. And even to this day, my neck can bother me.
That's
And
your worst accident.
well, no, again, I got ran over. I had a motorcycle accident too. But if you tell me that I had to go do one or the other again, either I had to pick one, I would say I'm going to have the motorcycle accident. I do not want to have a bicycle accident.
Yeah, I
The
was
motor
going to
the,
say.
the bicycle accident messed me up.
Well, the bicycle accident, and it's funny because you're right. When I'm on a motorcycle, I feel a little more protected. But I was one of those, I would ride in between cars all the time. And living in California, you see that and you realize if you're not an aggressive driver and you're passive, no one sees you. And so you have to drive around assuming no one can see you.
That's why I drive like a bat out of hell. So everybody's looking out for the guy that looks like he owns the road.
And that's funny because that's how I stopped getting into accidents. Because when I would be passive or allow people to pull in front of you, that's when you get into an accident. If you're driving like a lunatic faster than them, then they see you coming.
Yeah, well, I stay away from, there's plenty of room to stay away. Nobody says you got to ride on somebody's ass. I love riding, and if I'm going slow or picking up the pace, being on two wheels is incredible.
And it's funny because it's a lifestyle because all the people that you're out there with are kind of have a common mentality. It's not, you don't find a lot of Karens riding motorcycles.
They will give the people that ride a Harley Davidson motorcycle will give you the shirt off their back.
And a lot of people don't know that. They're so terrified of them and they don't realize they're probably the most gracious people in the
It's the
world.
most charity. I mean, we will raise and we'll donate another $1 million this year to veterans, all because people will go out and register for the Let's Ride Challenge, and they'll rack their miles up at their local dealerships, and they do it because and when you ask them, are you riding because we're giving away a chance to win a motorcycle, and they'll say, no, I'm riding for the veterans. If I
Right.
win the motorcycle, nobody generally they'll say, there's 100,000 people doing this, and maybe I won't win it, but they all want to get out and ride for the veterans.
The crazy thing is I realized that motorcycles really are probably really economical. I mean, people don't realize that the motorcycle is not really as expensive as you think it is. Because
Now, they're worth every penny. I mean, because there are some expensive bikes out there, but I tell you
but for a
again,
starter, you can pick up a bike all over the place.
oh yeah, yeah. I love my motorcycles. I just don't let my wife know how much I love them.
Yeah, she never
That,
never
that,
put a number on it. Now,
that way, yeah, that way she won't want to take it away from me.
now you have your own bourbon.
Yeah, I'm Jesse James Bourbon, and I mean that's been a lot of fun, and it's been very successful with it. Yeah.
Are you selling it in California? Because as I was reading that, I was going to try to find out where I can buy it to make sure I have it when you play.
No, we're in like 22 states. We're in 22 states, predominantly the Midwest and over, um, Texas, that kind of thing. Um, Early on, I had some distribution in California, but we were just getting started. It was hard to maintenance it, because California is
All
so
right.
it's a harder place to do business, just because the politics of California. But
You mean
we're
it
working.
doesn't take 26 permits to operate the Canyon Club?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel your pain on that. But yeah, we're working our way to California with the Jesse James bourbon.
So what made you, are you a bourbon drinker? Is that why you wanted to do your own bourbon, or what intrigued you? Because I watched some TikToks with you doing the smoky bourbon and stuff.
Yeah, bourbon. I got into bourbon because I was doing a beer first, and I was doing a whole wheat non-filtered beer, and that was an interesting play. But the craft the craft beer the
Wow.
craft beer train had already left the station, and I felt like if I kept dumping money in the craft beer train, that I would just be wasting it. And so, but I ended up a distributor ended up um, introducing me to a guy that was sitting on $5 million worth of bourbon. So we started a bourbon company.
Ah, very cool. My friend Neil Gerardo has three chord bourbon too. That's
Yeah, he
what I was
does. Yeah.
wondering. Like all these people with the bourbon companies, what happened? Did I miss something on the bourbon? Because I remember it was vodka forever. You
God,
know.
he is a guitar playing fool, boy.
Um,
Neil Gerardo, God, he's just, I mean, what a phenomenal player. I
and
mean,
you know he wrote the songs.
and he married the singer.
Yeah, he's amazing, and and it's funny because I'm sorry, Neil. I'll pick on you for a second. I remember when he used to come to the Canyon Club, he hated it because it was always so hot. Because I used to tell him that you put 1,000 people in a building, it's going to get hot no
Yeah,
matter
yeah.
what I do. And he would just bitch from stage. So now we have a huge 5-ton air conditioner that's pointed right at the guitar player. And so when they play now, I blow an air conditioner at them because
That's
people
funny.
just don't know sweating is a little bit apart about going to a
Yeah,
concert because when you're in the
we like a sweaty rock and roll show.
yeah, you need that little sweaty and a little stank in there because everybody if they all took a shower too many times then it would smell too clean.
There you go. That's right. Saving water.
So, are you looking to do any other? Because I noticed it was called Jesse James Spirits. Are you going to do some other types?
Well, I do a honey bourbon and I do a spice bourbon and I do a cinnamon whiskey called Jesse James Devil's Devil. And, I mean, I've got different SKUs and doing really great. I mean, the honey bourbon, we seriously have the best honey bourbon made. I mean, it's really great.
Isn't that funny? I did. You know, I was a big Jack Daniels guy forever, and then they wouldn't make me. What did they call them? It was they would give honors out to people and call you something like a sir person, and they didn't give it to me. And I found out that when I went to the grocery store, they were selling bottles of Jack Daniels for $28. But when I was buying it from the liquor distributor, they were charging me 42. And I was like, this is why people that run bars would sneak into Rite Aids and buy all their bourbon and scotches because they could sell it because it doesn't have all the taxes on it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
here
yeah.
you're buying it because it's super already inflated. And I used to hate Costco was my favorite because every time someone would order a bottle of Aces or something or Dom Perignon, they go, well, I could buy this at Costco for $93. And I'm like, go hang out in Costco. And the thing that made me mad was I couldn't buy it for 93. I was paying 150 because I had to buy it from a legal distributor, but Costco was doing it. And if you paid for it legally, you could bring it in and drink it in my venue for $15 bottling. It's crazy because in
California
California,
got some, yeah,
I
California's hard to do business in.
I love California, and what people don't realize is they think just like growing up in New York, who would know that I was from Woodstock, right? Because I
Yeah,
would say that and they talk about New York City all the time. And in California, you know, we're out in bum F Egypt. And, you know, and no one knows when everybody out here, you do a Harley ride out here in Oxnard, you're going to get a lot of people. Maybe not in Santa Monica, or on Hermosa Beach, but
yeah.
where we live, because a lot of the state is very, very rural. You know, people don't. When I had my house in Moore Park, I sold it about 5 years ago, but that was an avocado ranch, and I was a
Wow.
farmer. Yeah, I
No
know more
kidding.
about avocados than anybody needs to know.
That's something that I know absolutely nothing. I'll eat them, but I don't know nothing about them as far as growing them. That's
I love avocados. The only thing is, I remember like 3 years ago, the cartels were going after all the avocados guys in Mexico, and we had to gather money and send it to Mexico to protect them. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're like competing me with avocados. But with that said, now your personal life, you've been married for how long?
uh 25 years, 25 years.
And you have a band with your son.
I do it. Yeah, I go out and play shows with my son and Roman, my bass player, who he's my next door neighbor. So I mean, just and
Have
he
you
and
have
Nigel.
you had your band open up for Jackyl yet?
No, no, we go out and do our thing, and I mean, we'll go do a run of dates on our own, and it's just something different. It's fun, but playing with your son, it's a big deal. It's
Yeah.
really cool. And Nigel's got a new video out. You can check him out, Nigel Dupree. Go to YouTube or Spotify. He's got a couple of new songs we just released, and it's a couple of cool ass videos on YouTube. Nigel Dupree, Dupree. Go
And
check him out on YouTube.
I know Luann's not here today, but Luann's listening. Do me a favor and let's cue up the his son's video when we'll play it before during the
Find
time
out.
we're
It's a
loading
song.
in.
It's a song called "Find Out the Hard Way."
Find out the
So
hard way. I
yeah,
will
check it
get that.
out.
You have a daughter also,
I got two daughters. Yeah,
and you're
I got
very
two daughters.
protective of them.
They you know what, they're my son is a starving musician. He runs around Nashville being good looking, and he's got his record coming out. He just released those two songs under Nigel Dupree. You got to check them out. My daughters, they'll go shop at Goodwill, and they don't. I mean, they never ask for nothing. They're very independent and self sufficient. And but my son is always needing money. and and he, and he likes wearing the designer stuff.
Did
He
you
likes
know?
wearing.
The funniest thing is my grandparents were very wealthy. I grew up really weird, where I was on my own at 13, but my grandparents were very wealthy. And I remember after I built the Wildcat House and the Devil House, and then I built House of Blues. I said to my grandmother, I said, I always had a chip on my shoulder because you gave my brother and sister so much money. And they go, oh, you were the only one that wasn't screwed up. And we realized we screwed them up by giving them all that money.
Wow, that
So we
sure
thought it was best to leave you alone.
that's what, that's the way it works. I actually told my daughter recently. I said, she's smarter than I ever was, and she's got a great personality. And I said, you can go and do some great things. I said, the only thing that I worry about is you've never had to worry about where your next meal was coming from. And when you've worried about where your next meal is coming from,
Changes everything.
it centers you for the rest of your life. I've spent many of my days wondering where I was going to get my next meal, while I was out struggling trying to make it,
And
or
my
how I was.
and my
Or,
kids look at me all weird when I say, when I was in college, I had to decide whether I was eating peanut butter and jelly, which I couldn't afford the jelly, so it was peanut butter and white bread, or I was eating Top Ramen because you could buy Top Ramen for 39 cents.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
was bad for you, but yeah, we would eat. And I could tell other people have no concept of what food insecurity is.
Well, I've been very blessed, and I will go to eat a really nice dinner tonight, and it does not go past me how blessed I am, and I mean that sincerely. And I really, I look forward to every show that we play. I mean, I don't take it every night the intro tape rolls. I just think, man, I cherish every single one of these shows, and I am genuinely excited about coming to the Canyon Club. And everybody out there listening, tell a friend to tell a friend. Don't miss this show.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to have a Jackyl family reunion. Gilby Clark opened the show. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And, I've got Gilby plays, I booked him in to play Sturgis. He's playing the Full Throttle Saloon in Sturgis. And just what a super talented guy. And
Well, it's crazy being here.
I hate guys like that are good
just
players.
natural.
I hate it. Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. I absolutely can't wait. I will tell you one thing. If you like a good steak, I have a Wagyu chuck steak that you'll die for, and I will cook it for you that night. And I'll make sure we play your son's video. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you so much for making the Canyon Club your home when you're in California.
Let's talk about the love ride too. Let's figure out something to do together with a love ride.
Absolutely. I am there for you 100%.
I appreciate you, Lance. People grab that knob, crank it wide ass open, because Brother Lance has got it dialed in. It's really all you need every day. So just have it wide open, Lance, all the time. There you go. Have a good one. I'll see you at the Canyon Club when Jackyl hits the stage. Pa-pow.
Pa-pow. Thank you. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Okay.